You are watching Sipping Off the Cuff on tequilaaficionado.com. That's tequilaaficionado.com. I'm Alex Perez.
Mike Morales. Wait, is the poly jet working? I'm sorry. Tonight, Alex, you and I are working on Roger Klein's Mexican Moonshine. Mexican Moonshine.
Mexican moonshine.
Yeah. Evidently,
is it legal or illegal?
it is. It is legal. There was a no. You know what? There is a story, and we talk about it in the interview that we did with Roger Klein, because at one point he does a show. It used to be twice a year. Now it's once a year in Puerto Peñasco, and it's called Circus Mexicus. And apparently, one year, one of the two of the bars in town, they said, we sell more tequila when you're in town. And so a lot of the guys in forums, a lot of the people who were just getting into the tequila thing, were talking about Roger Klein. This Roger Klein has his own tequila. It only gets it in a barrel. You can't even find it. It turns out that after that first year was so successful, but they got in trouble with the CRT because it didn't have a gnome, and so they couldn't do it anymore, at least not legally. And that's when he went looking for a fábrica, and that's when he found Fábricas de Tequilas Finos. And in 2010, they came out with the Reposado. Now,
we're tasting.
Yes, we're going to taste that tonight. He says that Roger mentions that doing a reposado. You'll have to forgive the cat. He's behind me, going into the window. Coming out with a reposado, he says, is what he calls commercial suicide because they don't sell. I tend to disagree, but in any case, he really wanted to come out with a repo first because I think as a sipper himself, he wanted to have something that represents him and that he would be able to pursue and push and sell, right? And so this is what they came up with. And what do you think, Alex? I mean, the color on this is really beautiful. This is a nice golden color.
It's got a beautiful golden hue. Again, it's really shiny.
Yeah, it's shiny.
Like the Blanco. But now you've got that golden hue to it.
Now, my understanding is that they are using bourbon barrels, I believe. I know that they're using it for the añejo, and I would suspect that they're doing it also for the reposado, which is how they started. And the reason for that, and he'll give again in the interview that upcoming interview with Roger, he explains how many different samples that he went through because he wanted to make sure that it represented his flavor profile. And so it turns out that that it kind of leaned toward the bourbony kind of thing to it. So if you smell any of that on the nose or maybe taste it on the wood, on the palate, that's where you're getting it from because it's
definitely got some bourbon notes in there.
And it's got a different finish. It doesn't finish. I think it doesn't finish sweet, is what he said.
It's got a really neat nose.
Yeah, it does. For a repo, it does.
It's got a lot of depth to it. It's almost like if it was an añejo.
Well, what he said was...
No, this is a reposado.
It's a reposado. What he said was that the distiller had told him that it's más o menos nueve meses, more or less 9 months. Because as he says, as he's told Roger, he does the aging by taste, not necessarily by time. So it's an art, not a science. And some people would argue that it is a science, but I think it's a combination of both. So sure. It's about 9 months. So it's certainly a reposado.
Right. Well, I love those.
Yeah. It adds to what's already in the Blanco that we mentioned previously.
If you get some nice oak notes in the nose. Wow. Actually, this is what I was hoping for from that nose. It's like honey.
It delivered, huh?
Yeah. Nice coating of the palate.
It's got a full, rich flavor.
Yeah, it's thick. It's thick and heavy in the palate.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a good structure and a heavy mouthfeel on it, almost like an añejo.
Got some legs on this too.
Yeah, like his distiller said, he's very proud of his girls have nice legs, is what he says. Right now the name of the master distiller escapes me, but he does mention him in the article, and so we'll make sure that he gets props. But I've been to that distillery. Many of us have with the Blue Agave Forum, and it's a well-known distillery where you got a lot of favorite tequilas that come out of there, like Tonalá, Sol Dios, many others. And now Dos Manos, Tres Manos. Those are some of the ones you've always heard, and a few others. And now, of course, Mexican Moonshine. Alex, I really like this. This has really got a great mouthfeel and a structure to it. I would almost say, Brand of Promise nominee, I would think, for 2014. What do you think?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, I would definitely nominate it for Brand of Promise.
Yeah, I do too. When I first had this, just for this, obviously for sake of transparency, you can see that I've had mine more than Alex. Alex, you just barely opened it. With Alex, he's got so many of them, he doesn't even bother opening them until right before we're going to tape. And I've been to the Area 51 of tequila where he's wrapping out the cellophane. And I'm going, you still have cellophane on those? So having had it first, I wasn't sure where that palate and flavor profile were going, but after speaking with him and finding out how, discussing with him and taping how he, what the structure, the process was that he went through to come up with a flavor profile that he can be proud of, I get it. I understood it. And so when I went back to retaste, I had a better understanding of what was coming out, what I was getting from the first initial tastes. So I'm glad you pulled it out because this is the first you've had it.
I really like the ripple.
Yeah.
Now, so this is what he started with.
Yes.
So this would be his flagship.
This is the flagship. This is the one that. But when we taste the añejo in the next episode of Sipping Off the Cuff, he even mentions that he's leaning now toward the añejo, and he hates to say that because he's such a reposado guy, But when we get to the añejo in the next episode, we'll be able to expound more on that. But in the meantime, that was Mexican Moonshine, the legal version of Mexican Moonshine. He actually has a song. We'll be able to share the video of him singing the song Mexican Moonshine. He had beautiful lyrics with it. He's got a huge following, Alex. This guy has a cult following, probably as big, I would say, as big as Sammy Hagar, whom you spoke to when he first started. It's kind of neat because we have one of your founders features coming up real soon with Sammy, and well, you haven't spoken to Jimmy Buffett yet. But this guy has a cult underground following, probably as strong as Jimmy Buffett, and it's neat to be able to talk to a guy. Just he's been in the business for 15, 16 years, the music business, but to be in the tequila business and to see how this is going to progress is really interesting because you had a chance to do it with Sammy, and we'll have those original recordings coming up real soon on your founders features. So that's kind of we're letting people in on a little secret. They're not supposed to know, so don't tell anyone. But anyway, that's Mexican Moonshine, Reposado.
Brand of Promise.
Brand of Promise nominee for 2014. I'm Mike Morales.
I'm Alex Perez, and as always, sip wisely.